The sound of tires screeching on the busy Oshodi road sent chills through the air. A loud crash echoed like thunder. The black Bentley had collided head-on with a speeding yellow tricycle. Shattered glass flew everywhere. Smoke hissed from the bonnet. People screamed and scattered. Horns blared. Dust rose. But in the middle of the chaos, something strange happened. 3 masked men, limping, bruised, staggered out of the Bentley. But they weren't alone. They were dragging a boy. A teenage boy. His shirt was torn and soaked in mud. His jeans were ripped at the knees. His face was bruised, his eyes shut. He looked lifeless, like a rag doll tossed away. To most of the crowd that gathered, he looked like just another homeless street boy. Maybe one of those who begged for coins at traffic stops, but not to Amara. She froze where she stood, just meters away from the crash. Her black and white waitress uniform drenched in sweat from the day's work. Her heart pounded. Something felt wrong. The boy wasn't running from the masked men. He was being pulled, dragged. No one else moved. The crowd watched in fear. Whispers grew. Kidnappers. Ritualists. Let them go before they shoot. But Amara couldn't just watch. Her parents had once told her, if you see someone in danger and you turn away, you're no better than the person causing it. And even though fear shook her bones, Amara screamed, "Stop! Leave him alone!" She shouted with all her strength. The men flinched, surprised by her voice. "Help!" Amara cried. "Somebody help me!" More people began to gather. Phones were out, recording, murmuring. The pressure grew. One of the masked men shouted, "Leave him! Let's go!" They dropped the boy like trash, panicked, and dashed into the nearby alley. Amara didn't wait. She pushed through the crowd, knelt by the boy, and gently carried him. His face was swollen, lips dry, a faint cut above his brow. His hands hung limp. He wasn't just hurt. He was barely alive. She touched his wrist. Weak pulse. Without thinking twice, Amara jumped up and waved for a taxi. One stopped. A battered yellow cab. "Please, help me. He's hurt badly," she begged the driver. "Ah, happened to him?" the driver asked, worried. "No time. Please, take us to Federal Medical Center now." She opened the back door and with all her strength lifted the boy. He was heavier than he looked, but she carried him into the taxi. The crowd only watched, too scared to get involved. As the taxi sped off, Amara opened her purse. She had 3,200 naira left, money she had kept to buy food for the weekend. She gave it all to the driver. "Just get us there fast," she said, holding the boy's hand. "Please, don't die. Please don't die." The ride felt like hours, though it was only 15 minutes. When they reached the hospital gates, Amara jumped out, screaming for help. "Nurse! Doctor! Someone please! He's dying!" Medical staff rushed out with a stretcher. They placed the boy on it and rolled him inside, calling for the emergency team. Amara ran beside them, not knowing his name, not knowing who he was, but praying he lived. Inside the hospital, the boy was taken to the emergency ward. The doctors worked fast, checking his heartbeat, his lungs, his blood pressure. Then one doctor, a tall, calm man named Dr. Maxwell, turned to Amara. "Miss, he's in bad shape. We'll need to operate immediately. Do you know any of his relatives?" Amara's hands shook. She didn't know him. She reached into the boy's torn jeans, searching his pocket, saw a phone. The screen was cracked, but still working. She opened it. No fingerprint lock. She opened the call history. One number stood out. "Dad." She didn't think twice. She tapped it. The phone rang. Once. Twice. Then someone answered. "Hello?" The voice was deep, strong, confused. "Please, sir," Amara said. "I don't know you, but I found your son. He's in critical condition. We're at Federal Medical Center. He needs surgery now." There was a pause. Then the man shouted, "Give the phone to the doctor, now." Amara handed the phone to Dr. Maxwell. "This is Dr. Maxwell," he said calmly. "Yes, we're about to begin." "Yes, sir, I'll do everything." "All right." He hung up. "Prep the theater. "We're going in now," Dr. Maxwell shouted. As the nurses wheeled the boy into surgery, Amara stood alone in the hallway, heart racing, hands trembling. Blood stained her uniform. She could barely breathe. Who was this boy? Why did those men want him? And who was the powerful man she just spoke to? Minutes later, a black SUV screeched to a halt in front of the hospital. Men in black suits jumped out, opening the door for the man who stepped down tall, dark-skinned, wearing a white agbada, eyes red with fear. It was Chief Obinna Uche, one of the wealthiest and most powerful men in Nigeria. He stormed into the hospital, asking for his son. When he saw Amara, still standing, still shaken, he walked straight to her. You're the one who called me?" he asked. Amara nodded slowly. He looked at her uniform, her tired eyes, her stained hands. "Where is my son?" he asked. "They're operating on him," she whispered. Chief Obinna turned to the doctor who came out from the theatre doors. "How is he?" The doctor gave a firm nod. "We're doing our best." And then Obinna turned back to Amara, his voice low, eyes serious. "What really happened?" And as Amara began to tell the story of what she saw, how she shouted, how everyone ran except her, she didn't know that this moment, this one moment of courage, was the miracle she had been praying for all her life. Chief Obinna there in silence, listening to Amara's every word. The noise of the hospital faded behind the pounding of his heart. His only son, Sam, was in surgery. His hands trembled slightly, but he clenched his fist to keep control. Amara's voice was steady but emotional as she recounted what happened. "I saw them dragging him," she said. "At first, I thought he was just a homeless boy. He looked so weak, dirty. But then I noticed how the men were dragging him, and something in me just screamed. Something wasn't right." Obinna's eyes narrowed. "You didn't know who he was, yet you stepped in?" "I couldn't walk away," Amara said, her voice breaking slightly. "Everyone else did. They were scared. But I just couldn't." He looked at her again. She couldn't have been older than 20. Her uniform was torn at the sleeve, stained with dirt and dried blood from the boy she'd carried. Yet she stood with dignity, her hands wringing nervously in front of her. There was something familiar in her eyes, a kind of silent strength. "You risked your life," Obinna said slowly, "for a boy you didn't know." Amara nodded. "If I hadn't, he might be dead." There was a long silence. Then the theatre doors opened. Dr. Maxwell stepped out, pulling off his gloves. The surgery was successful. He's stable now, but very weak. He'll need a few days to recover. Obinna sighed deeply, placing his hand on the wall for support. He whispered a quiet, "Thank you." Then he asked, "Can I see him?" Dr. Maxwell nodded. "He's being moved to recovery. Just a few minutes." Obinna turned to Amara. "Please, come with me." They followed the nurses through a long hallway. In one of the recovery rooms, Sam lay still, connected to monitors. His face was pale, but his chest rose and fell gently. Obinna walked to the bedside, tears finally escaping his eyes. He took his son's hand and whispered, "I'm here. Son, I'm here." Amara stood by the door, watching quietly. After a few minutes, Sam stirred. His eyelids fluttered. Slowly, painfully, he opened his eyes. "Dad," he whispered. Obinna leaned in. Yes, I'm here. I don't know what I did to them," Sam said faintly. "They took me." Obinna shushed him gently. "Don't speak. You're safe now." Sam's eyes shifted to the girl standing in the corner. "Who is she?" Obinna turned and smiled softly. "That's Amara. She's the reason you're alive." Sam blinked slowly, raising his hand weakly toward her. "Thank you," he whispered. Amara stepped closer. "I'm just glad you're okay." A nurse came in and signaled it was time for the patient to rest. Obinna and Amara stepped out. Outside, Obinna turned to her. "You still haven't told me your name." She smiled shyly. "Amara. Amara Chukwudi." "Where do you live?" "I stay in a single room at Agaji. I work at Mama Esther's kitchen in Oshodi. I wash plates, serve food, Clean the floors. Anything. Obinna nodded. And your parents? Amara hesitated. They died when I was 16. Car accident. I had no one to take care of me, so I found small jobs, tried to finish school. I've just been surviving. He frowned. Surviving? Yes, she said, eyes watering slightly. But I always prayed that someday my life would change. That maybe, just maybe, God would remember me. Obinna stared at her in silence. Amara continued, almost as if confessing. I've always wanted to become a pilot. It's been my dream since I was a child. I would draw airplanes in the back of my school books. But after my parents died, I dropped the dream. Life was hard. I had to eat. I had to live. Obinna's voice was soft. Do you still want to fly? Amara looked up, eyes shining despite the tears. Yes, sir. More than anything. Chief Obinna didn't speak immediately. Then he reached into his pocket and pulled out a business card. This is my direct number. From now on, if you ever need anything, you call me. No middlemen, no barriers. Amara stared at the card like it was gold. And one more thing, he said. You're coming home with us tonight. Her eyes widened. Sir? You saved my only son. You're no longer a stranger to me. You're family. The next morning, newspapers were already flooded with headlines. Billionaire's son rescued after kidnapping horror. Brave waitress saves teenager, mistaken for homeless. Chief Obinna offers lifeline to girl who risked it all. At the mansion, Amara was welcomed by Chief Obinna's personal staff. She was given a room, a warm bath, a new change of clothes. She stared at her reflection in the mirror and almost didn't recognize herself. Sam was still in the hospital recovering, but Obinna visited him every day, and so did Amara. In those quiet moments in the hospital room, Sam would smile at her, ask her questions. They talked about simple things, music, cartoons, and dreams. Do you really want to be a pilot? He asked one day. Amara nodded. Yes. Then you will. I promise. A week later, Sam was discharged. Obinna kept his word. He called his lawyer, his personal assistants, and his education consultant. A private tutor was hired for Amara. Lessons began immediately. Maths, physics, English, everything she needed to sit for her aviation entrance exams. Sam returned abroad to continue his studies in aeronautical engineering. Amara cried when he left. He smiled and told her, I'll be back before you know it, and when I do, we'll both be flying high. She watched his plane take off, hand on her heart. This wasn't a dream anymore. It was the start of something real. The first day Amara stepped into the aviation training school, she froze at the gate. She looked at the tall white buildings with glass windows and a silver model of a plane mounted at the entrance. Students in crisp uniforms walked past, carrying textbooks. Some chatted about physics and flight simulations. Amara stood there in a pair of black flats, her heart pounding inside her neat blue gown. She was the only one who had come from washing plates, the only one who had once begged for transport fare. She looked down at her ID card. Amara Chukwudi, pilot trainee, Class 1. A tear slipped from her eye. Not from fear, from disbelief. Amara Chukwudi, a calm voice called from behind. She turned quickly. It was one of the instructors, a slim man in white shirt and black tie. Welcome, he said. Follow me. Your orientation starts now. As she walked through the gates, she whispered under her breath, God, thank you, thank you. Back in London, Sam was preparing for his semester exams in aeronautical engineering, but his mind was far from the textbooks. He kept looking at the photo on his phone. It was Amara in her pilot trainee uniform, smiling shyly. She had sent it the night before. His roommate, Jaden, noticed. You've been staring at that girl all week, Jaden teased. Who is she? Your girlfriend? Sam chuckled. Not yet. Jaden raised a brow. So, who is she? Sam's eyes softened. She's the girl who saved my life. Jaden sat up. Wait, seriously? Sam nodded slowly. When I was kidnapped in Nigeria, The day those guys crashed into a tricycle while trying to escape. Everyone was afraid. No one came close. But she did. A waitress. She carried me to the hospital. Used her last money. Jaden's eyes widened. Wow. She didn't even know who I was. Thought I was a homeless boy. Jaden smiled. She must be really brave. She's more than that, Sam said. She's different. Jaden leaned back. You've got it bad, man. Sam just smiled. Months passed. Amara became the top of her class. Her instructors were amazed. She asked questions. She stayed back to study. She memorized every flight control panel, practiced emergency landing simulations, and scored perfect marks in navigation. But beyond the classroom, Amara remained humble. She still prayed before every test. Still wrote in her old notebook, the one with a drawing of an airplane on the back. One night, after her midterm test, she got a call. It was Chief Obinna. Amara, he said warmly. Sam told me about your results. I'm proud of you. Thank you, sir, she said, trying not to cry. I want you to keep going. Nothing must stop you. You hear me? I promise, sir. After the call, she turned to her mirror and whispered to her reflection, One day, I'll fly that plane. One day. 2 years later, Sam returned home. He had completed his program with honors. His final project, designing a lightweight emergency jet propeller, was chosen as one of the top innovations in the school's history. But when he landed in Lagos, he wasn't thinking about awards. He was thinking about one person, Amara. He headed straight to the mansion. Chief Obinna welcomed him with a warm hug, but his first words were, She's at the Aviation Center. She's flying today. Sam's eyes lit up. You mean? Obinna nodded. Her first real flight. Solo training. At the airfield, Amara stood beside a small white Cessna aircraft. Her heart beat fast beneath her uniform. Her instructor handed her the headset and nodded. You're ready, Amara? She climbed into the cockpit, took a deep breath, checked the instruments. Tower, this is trainee Chukwudi. Requesting clearance for takeoff, she spoke into the radio, her voice steady. Cleared for takeoff, runway 2, came the reply. The engine roared. The plane moved. Down the runway. Faster. Faster. Then, lift off. The wheels left the ground. Amara was in the air. Tears filled her eyes. I'm flying, she whispered. I'm really flying. From the viewing deck, Sam watched. Eyes wide, his heart filled with joy. Chief Obinna stood beside him. She's born for this. Sam smiled, never taking his eyes off the sky. Yes, she is. After the flight, Amara landed smoothly and stepped down from the plane. Her instructors clapped. Fellow students cheered. She was drenched in sweat, but glowing with joy. Then she saw him, Sam, standing in a black suit and blue shirt, smiling at her like she had just handed him the moon. Amara froze. Then she ran, straight into his arms. I'm so proud of you, he said, holding her tightly. You came, she whispered. I said I would. They pulled apart slightly, but didn't let go. I watched you, he said softly. You soared, Amara chuckled. I nearly forgot to breathe. Sam reached into his pocket, pulled out a small velvet box. He knelt down. Gasps echoed. Even the instructors paused. Amara covered her mouth. Amara Chukwudi, you saved my life. You changed my world. You are my miracle. Will you marry me? Amara shook, speechless. Tears fell freely. Then she nodded, whispering, Yes, yes, Sam, yes. He stood, slipped the diamond ring on her finger, and kissed her forehead. Everyone clapped. Chief Obinna smiled from afar. His son had found more than a helper. He had found a destiny partner. The wedding came 2 months later. It was the most beautiful wedding Lagos had ever seen. White roses, gold drapes, a hall filled with dignitaries. The waitress who once served food now walked down the aisle in a white silk gown, her hand in Sam's. And 2 years later, they welcomed twins, a boy and a girl, named after Amara's late parents, Ifeanyi and Ngozi. The dream she thought had died? It had only been delayed. And the miracle she prayed for? It came, on the day she chose to risk everything for a boy who looked like he had nothing. One evening, 2 months after the twins were born, Amara stood on the balcony of their new home in Banana Island. The sun was setting over the ocean, casting a golden glow across the water. The sound of baby laughter drifted in from the nursery, where a nanny rocked little Ifeanyi and Ngozi. Sam stepped outside, wrapping his arms around her from behind. "You're quiet," he said. "Are you tired?" Amara leaned her head on his chest. "No, just thinking." "About?" She paused. "Do you ever wonder why those men kidnapped you?" Sam was quiet for a moment. Then he nodded. "I do. Every day." She turned to face him. "Did your father ever find out who they were? Or why they did it?" Sam's face darkened. He hired top investigators. They traced the men to a criminal gang, but their leader, Django, disappeared after the accident. It all felt too organized. Amara nodded. "I never told you this, Sam, but the moment I saw them dragging you, I felt something wasn't right. Not just fear. It was like they wanted to hurt you for a reason." Sam looked at her seriously. "I've had that same feeling. That it wasn't just about ransom." He reached into a drawer inside and brought out a brown envelope. "This came in 2 days ago, from one of the private detectives. I didn't show Dad yet." He opened it. Inside was a grainy photo taken from CCTV footage. It showed the black SUV used in the kidnapping parked outside a large estate on the outskirts of Lekki. Amara pointed. "Whose house is that?" Sam hesitated. "That's my Uncle Johnson's house." Her eyes widened. "Your dad's younger brother?" He nodded. "Yeah. He's always been bitter. Thought Dad should have helped him more over the years." Amara whispered. "You think he was behind it?" "I don't want to believe it," Sam said, voice low. "But the evidence—" He held up a second photo, this time Django entering the compound 2 days before the kidnapping. Amara's knees went weak. She sat down slowly. Sam sat beside her. "There's more. After the accident, when the men escaped, someone inside the hospital tried to access the room where I was. The security camera caught him. Same man, Django." "What?" Amara gasped. "They believe he was sent to finish the job, but you being there scared him off." Amara felt chills run down her spine. That night, she remembered, one of the nurses had rushed in saying someone was trying to force the emergency exit. She hadn't thought much of it. Until now. "Sam," she whispered, "someone wanted you dead." He looked away. "I know." They both fell silent. Then Amara said something that sent another wave of tension into the room. "I need to see your father." Chief Obinna's study was quiet and dark, lit only by a golden desk lamp. He looked up as Amara entered, her expression calm but determined. "Amara," he said with a soft smile, "you didn't have to knock. I needed to speak to you. Privately." He closed the file on his desk. "Go on." She placed the photos on the table. Obinna's eyes narrowed as he picked them up. His hand froze when he saw the last one. "Johnson," he whispered. "Do you believe he could do this?" Amara asked gently. Obinna sighed deeply, sitting back in his chair. "Johnson always felt left behind. When I started my company, I asked him to join me, but he gambled the money I gave him and blamed me for not helping him recover." He paused. "After Amanda, my wife, died in the plane crash, Johnson didn't even come to the burial. That was the last time we spoke." Amara leaned forward. "He never forgave you." Obinna's voice broke slightly. "But to try and kill my only son?" He stood, pacing the room. "I'll call the commissioner," he said. "This has to be handled quietly." "No," Amara said suddenly. "Let me go to him." Obinna turned sharply. "What?" "Let me talk to him. As a stranger. He won't see me coming." He was silent for a moment. Then he whispered, "That's dangerous." Amara's voice was firm. "I've faced danger before." The next day, dressed in a simple blouse and jeans, Amara arrived at Uncle Johnson's estate, pretending to be an event caterer looking for sponsorship. She held a business brochure fake but convincing and waited at the gate. The security man called inside. To her surprise, Johnson agreed to see her. Inside, the house was lavish but cold. Johnson sat in a burgundy robe, sipping tea and scanning her fake proposal. "Young lady," he said slowly, "you look familiar." Amara's heart skipped. She smiled gently. "Maybe you've seen me in the papers. I was the girl who saved Chief Obinna's son." Johnson's cup froze mid-air. Amara leaned forward. "Or perhaps you've seen me at the hospital, the day someone tried to sneak in." His eyes darkened. "I don't know what you're talking about," he said quietly. "Oh, I think you do," Amara replied. "See, I'm not here for sponsorship. I'm here for answers." Johnson slowly placed the cup down. "You're very bold." "I had to be," she said, her tone calm but strong. "That night, I picked up Sam from the ground because I believed he mattered. I didn't know he was a billionaire's son, but I knew he was someone's son." She stood up, reached into her bag, and placed a tiny recording device on the table. "And now I know you were part of trying to take him away forever." Johnson laughed softly. "Do you think anyone will believe you?" "They will," she said. "Your voice is enough. It's already recording. And right now, there are officers waiting outside this compound." Sirens wailed in the distance. Johnson jumped up. "You tricked me." "No," Amara said firmly. "You did that to yourself." The door burst open. 2 officers entered, followed by Chief Obinna himself. Johnson's face twisted with shame, rage, and something else, defeat. Obinna looked at him with sorrow. "You were my brother. You left me behind," Johnson screamed. "You let me rot while you fed the world." "And you tried to kill my son," Obinna replied quietly. "That's not just betrayal, that's murder." Johnson was handcuffed. As they led him out, he spat on the floor. "That girl, that waitress, she ruined everything." Obinna turned to Amara. "No," he said softly. "She saved everything." And in that moment, Amara knew. She wasn't just the girl who risked her life. She was the girl who saved a family and uncovered a deadly secret. It had been 3 weeks since Johnson was taken into custody, but the waves of his betrayal were still rippling across the Uche family. Sam sat at the mansion's garden bench, watching the soft sunlight bounce off the petals of the hibiscus flowers. Amara walked toward him slowly, dressed in a simple white gown, holding a flask of tea. "Hey," she said gently. Sam smiled as she handed him the cup. "Thanks. You always know what I need," he said. She sat beside him, placing her hand over his. "How are you holding up?" Sam exhaled slowly. "Better. I never imagined it would be Uncle Johnson. He was like a shadow in my childhood. Always in the corner. Always watching. I thought he was just quiet. I never saw the bitterness." Amara squeezed his hand. "I've learned something, Sam. Some people don't hate you because of what you did. They hate you because of what you have." Sam nodded. "That's true. But you had nothing when I met you. And yet, you gave everything." Amara looked away, blinking back tears. "I had my parents' voice in my head. Their advice. Their values. Even if I had lost everything, I still had that." Sam turned toward her. "Amara, can I ask you something?" She smiled. "Of course." He paused. "What scares you now, after everything?" Amara looked into the sky, the clouds soft and pink from the fading sun. "What scares me now is forgetting where I came from." Chief Obinna sat in his study, reviewing some papers, when a knock came at the door. It was Amara, carrying a brown file. "Come in, my dear," he said warmly. She sat across from him and placed the file on the table. "What's this?" he asked. "My application," Amara said softly. "I've been offered a pilot job with Air Unity International. They want me to start flying domestic routes before moving to international flights within 6 months." Obinna's face lit up. "That's incredible." She nodded, though her smile was soft. "There's just one thing." "What is it?" I want to start something. Something of my own, too. Obinna raised an eyebrow. Go on. Amara took a breath. I want to create a foundation for girls like me. Orphans. Housemaids. Waitresses. Girls with dreams bigger than their pocket. Obinna listened, leaning in. I want to call it Wings of Hope. It'll help sponsor girls into aviation school, or engineering, or whatever their passion is. I'll speak in schools, tell my story. I want them to know they matter, even when no one notices them. Obinna was silent for a moment. Then he stood, walked around the table, and pulled Amara into a warm embrace. I've built companies, built estates, but helping you become who you are today might be the best thing I've ever done, he said emotionally. I'll support the foundation, fully, Amara whispered. Thank you, Daddy. Obinna pulled back, his eyes moist. Say that again. She smiled. Thank you, Daddy. And in that moment, a chapter closed in their lives and a new one began. 6 months later, the airport was abuzz with activity. Passengers rolled suitcases, flight attendants walked briskly, and announcements echoed through the halls. Flight 370, 4 to Port Harcourt, now boarding at Gate 6. Amara, now in her sharp navy blue pilot uniform, stood proudly in the cockpit, reviewing flight data. Her name badge gleamed. Captain A. Chukwudi. The co-pilot, an older man with years of experience, smiled as he looked at her. You know, not many pilots get this route in their first year, but your record is clean. No errors. You're disciplined. Thank you, sir, Amara replied with confidence. Ready to fly? She nodded. More than ever. The plane rolled onto the runway. Amara placed her hand on the throttle, her heart calm but determined. Tower, this is flight 374, requesting clearance for takeoff. Cleared. Safe flight, Captain. As the plane sped down the runway, lifting into the clear Lagos sky, Amara felt tears rise, but not from fear. From victory. She was soaring. And this time, not alone. In the front row sat Chief Obinna, smiling proudly. Beside him, Sam, now an aeronautic engineer with Air Unity, held his father's hand. And on the screens behind the seats, a short documentary played. From Waitress to Wings, the Amara Chukwudi story. Later that evening, the celebration at the Uche mansion was simple but heartfelt. Staff clapped as Amara stepped out of the car in her pilot uniform. She had just completed her first full flight. Her twins ran to her, arms outstretched. Mummy flew in the sky, Ngozi shouted, giggling. Ifeanyi added, like Superman. Amara laughed, picking them both up. No, baby, like Superwoman. Sam appeared, wrapping his arms around her. I'm proud of you. Obinna joined them, clapping slowly. Come, everyone. The cake is ready. In the center of the garden stood a massive white cake with icing shaped like a plane, and the words, to the girl who chose courage. Tears welled in Amara's eyes. She stepped forward to cut the cake. But just before she did, she turned to everyone. I want to say something. The garden grew quiet. When I was 16, I lost everything, my parents, my home, my direction. I was just a girl walking through life with nothing but hope. I worked as a maid, then a waitress. Every day I served people who didn't know my name, but I never stopped praying. She looked at Chief Obinna and Sam. Then one day, I saw a boy being dragged on the road. He looked like someone no one would notice. But I did. She paused. And in saving him, I found the family I never had, the future I never imagined. A round of applause broke out, and Amara finally cut the cake. A few weeks later, at the launch of Wings of Hope, Amara stood on stage in front of hundreds of girls from different schools across Nigeria. Behind her was a banner with her photo and the words, Your dreams are valid. Your life has meaning. She spoke clearly into the microphone. I was once in your shoes. I know what it feels like to be invisible, to wonder if you'll ever matter. But I'm here to tell you dream anyway, work anyway, pray anyway. Because one day, your miracle will come, just like mine did. In the crowd, young girls clapped, cheered, and some wiped tears. Sam stood beside the stage, rocking Ngozi while Ifeanyi held his leg. He smiled. He wasn't just watching a pilot. He was watching his wife, the woman who saved his life, change the lives of others. And somewhere in the heavens, Amara's parents were surely smiling. The waitress had taken flight, and the world would never forget her. What is your view about this story? Where are you watching from? If you enjoyed this story, comment, share, and subscribe to our channel for more interesting stories.